Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you are. My initial words are dedicated to Soccerex. I want to start by congratulating its founding and current leaders for the 25th anniversary that Soccerex completes this year. And a warm word of recognition and appreciation must also go to all the fantastic people that over the past quarter of a century have been responsible for bringing together the global football industry. Thanks to all of you for what you have done and for providing us with unforgettable moments. It is therefore an honor and a pleasure to kick off these amazing 100 long days of Soccerex Connect and deliver this inaugural keynote speech on the future of football, a sport that I know far too well. A sport that continues to excite me as in the first time 30 years ago. A sport that faces challenges, but a sport that has incredible opportunities ahead. As you all know, Soccerex and SIGA are long-standing partners. Soccerex is one of our committed supporters. We share a common vision, a vision of a world united by sport. Clean sport, of course. A sport governed and operated under the highest integrity standards, free from corruption, bribery, money laundering, match fixing, and the threats that continue making sport an easy target for unscrupulous individuals and criminal organizations. We are committed to promote not just the growth of sport, but the sustainable development of the whole sporting industry worldwide. We are committed to foster and promote sport for all and not just for a few. An open, democratic, transparent, accountable, and inclusive sport. A sport where all individuals and organizations, regardless of the size and how deep goes their pockets, can enjoy opportunities, equal opportunities, and prosper in a stable and credible environment. A sport with integrity at its heart. Integrity is definitely more important than ever. First of all, to enable sport to restore its reputation and regain people's trust. And secondly, to be able to exert its role to the fullest and contribute to the world's much needed social and economic recovery after this devastating global pandemic and its dramatic impact and consequences. But to change the world, sport must change itself first. Football and the wider sport are facing the most severe crisis ever. We all know it. COVID-19 global pandemic is far from being under control. Despite important strides on the vaccination front, the war against this invisible enemy is far from over. The suspension of sporting competitions, empty stadiums, broadcasting penalties, reduced commercial activities, the collapse in the players' transfer profits, and much, much more have already led UEFA to project a staggering 8.7 billion euros loss in professional club revenues. This is overwhelming. And a pain that is felt equally by all clubs, big, medium, small, and of course the representative structures, the federations, the leagues, and the same happens all over other sports. It affects the whole industry at all levels and all its stakeholders. But don't think for a minute that the deep-rooted problems and complex challenges facing European and world football have simply evaporated simply by virtue of the collapse of the so-called European Super League. The COVID-19 pandemic and the European Super League threat have, on the contrary, exposed and further exacerbated all the vulnerabilities that sport has been suffering from decades. The growing indebtedness of clubs, the growing spiraling costs on transfer fees, agents' commissions, and now investment on club ownership. the growing polarization of revenues, and the staggering costs on all the transactions related to sport, but also the growing financial gap between clubs, the continuous erosion of the impracticability of results, and the uncertainty of sports competitions, both at European and national league level. Let us not forget also the growing saturation of the international match calendar, with increasing congestion of international club and national team matches, in detriment to national leagues and the consequent overburden of players. Let us also not forget the increasing incidents that stain sports' essence, soul, and reputation related to corruption, money laundering, tax evasion, and criminal association. Clearly, sport has a unique power and an unrivaled ability to inspire, to unite, and change the world. Of course, it does. But to change the world, sports must change itself first. And it needs to do a lot, because what has been done is simply insufficient and too short. It needs an in-depth, serious governance reform. As stewards of the game, we must hold executives to a standard worthy of the sports they protect. This implies fair, democratic, transparent elections, term limits, clear separation of powers, meaningful stakeholder representation, not just in the decision-making processes, but also and mainly in the decision-making structures, open to all genders, all races, regardless of the social and cultural background. How can we be conformed when only 7.8% of the representation at the executive level are exerted by a woman? Sport has to change so much, and it has to change fast. Otherwise, it will be changed by others. We need effective monitoring and auditing of the so-called development programs, so that these programs, vehicles of multi-billion-dollar injections in national federations and Olympic committees, can have the necessary transparency and scrutiny and serve its proper purposes. We need, ladies and gentlemen, effective, robust, coordinated, and concerted anti-corruption policies, clear and transparent bidding processes related with the organization of sports events, selling of media rights, and other commercial rights, including sponsorship and commercial arrangements. These are not mere options. These are not conveniences. These are necessities, and they are urgent, and therefore cannot be adjourned any longer. But we need more. We need club licensing systems with appropriate, up-to-date financial criteria and effective oversight and scrutiny. Sport must assume once and for all accountability for its own affairs. And accountability means being able to trace and confirm the origins of every cent that flows and pours into sport. Sport must be able to answer questions as simple as, whose money is this? Where is this money coming from? Where is it going to? What are the real motivation of these investments? Who are these investors? Who are the ultimate beneficial owners? Who's hiding behind all this? And why governments continue to allow offshore vehicles and tax havens to proliferate and operate and exert such an influence over sport with the utmost deregulation, lack of scrutiny, lack of oversight, and unacceptable opacity? Governments too must assume their own responsibilities for their own affairs, or their omissions in this case. Have you never asked yourselves, is there anybody checking all this? Or are these billions and billions of dollars running freely without oversight, without scrutiny, into the hands of anyone willing to grab them at the expense of sports reputation and credibility? These questions, ladies and gentlemen, are not by any standard irrelevant, but they can only be answered with an international, independent, and neutral clearinghouse. I repeat, so that there is no further doubt. An international, independent, and neutral clearinghouse, as I have been advocating for probably 20 years, preaching to the desert, hoping that sports go beyond the sound bites and the fancy speeches, and assuming their own responsibility and leadership, put in place the solutions and the tools that are available, that can work and can safeguard the integrity of sport. What has been done, the training and compensation, is far too short. There must be scrutiny and accountability for all sport-related financial transactions. And this is what a clearinghouse can and should do if there is political willingness, political courage, and if there is seriousness in this industry. Covering player transfer fees, agents' commissions, and club ownership investment. All this included. This is the only way to ensure financial integrity and transparency in sport. The world can entertain itself with one after the other international conventions, one after the other international conferences. Leaders can fool themselves pretending that now it's the time because they have added another sentence on their pre-written speeches and hope that everyone will wake up and just simply do the right thing. This is a critical time, and critical times call for bold decisions, global leadership, and courage. I have had enough. And most of you who are following me think we have had enough. It is time to walk the talk. It is time to deliver. It is time to transform all rhetorics into actions and actions into results. We are all accountable for our actions, accountable for our emissions. So don't you turn a blind eye. Don't you say it is not your business. Your time for complaint, your time for be a bystander, it's gone. It's now or never. Choose which side you want to be. Because if you don't, then history will remember you as someone who had the chance to say yes, to give a step forward, to assume leadership. Because we are all responsible for the reputation, the integrity, and the credibility of sport. Sport is not owned by international federations. Sport is not owned by anyone. Sport is a democratic phenomenon. It belongs to all of us and the future generations. I will not stand quiet. I will not hold back. I will not stand still. And this is why a week ago, I said that I would establish contact and invite all the political leaders in Europe, all the sporting leaders in Europe, starting by the president of UEFA, the president of European leagues, the president of the ECA, the president of FIFPro, and the supporters, and the global business industry, who are quick, sometimes too quick, in raising the finger, but slow in taking a seat role, in assuming the responsibility to usher sport into this new era. I was saying, I will invite them all to come along. There is no need to waste further time. There is no need to reinvent the wheel or the silver bullet. The silver bullet already exists. Ladies and gentlemen, you know it as well as I. That silver bullet is called SIGA Universal Standards, and they are the top of the tree, the best in class in terms of good governance, financial integrity, sports betting integrity, and youth development and child protection. Not only that, they are the only tool, the only instrument of scrutiny and assessment that can guarantee objectively that sports organizations are fit for purpose, that they walk the talk, that they deliver what they preach, that they are worthy of your passion, your investment, and the honor of serving sport, an honor that I have felt and continue to feel when I was running a club, when I was leading a league, when I was leading the European leagues, when I was leading the world leagues, on every day, because sport is essential in my life. It is essentially in our life. It is essentially in your life. So don't just complain. Do something about it. It is your time. It is your opportunity. It is your chance. What are you waiting for? We are the largest independent global coalition in the field of sport integrity. We have an open door policy, and we extend our hands and our arms to all those who share this vision of a sport governed and operated under the highest integrity standards, worthy of your trust and your confidence, our trust and our confidence, especially now, ladies and gentlemen, when the world is upside down, when mental health is not a fancy word invented by doctors or psychologists. It is deep, it runs deep, and it causes pain. And in a painful, challenging world like the one we're living now, global leadership is essential. Concrete global solutions are fundamental, and the courage to move them forward. I appeal to the leader that lives in you. I appeal to the true passionate sports fan that lives in you. I appeal to the leaders of the European and international sport movement. How do you think the younger generations feel when they are confronted with this thug wars, this wars for power, for more and more money, led and fueled by greed and the worst sort of qualities mankind can also carry? This European Super League was a shame, was a lost opportunity, was a mistake that should never happen. Why would you destroy the cream de la cream in sports competitions? Why would you destroy the European sports model that guarantees sporting merit, that guarantees a chance for all, that enables the underdog to fight for the glory, for the trophy, for the victory on the pitch, not because of the weight and the deepness of their pockets, but by the talent of the players on the pitch and the coaches. Enough of politics. Let football breathe. Let football be football. And let the best team win. This, some say, and I agree, was an eloquent, privileged opportunity to set the record straight. To put those who have exerted over and over for the past 2 decades or more threat and pressure over UEFA, to squeeze UEFA financially for the benefit of those big wealthy clubs and in the detriment of all others. I know what I'm saying, and I can prove it. And I challenge anyone to come forward and show that I'm wrong. I may no longer be the CEO of the European leagues or the world leagues, but I am the founder, one of the founding fathers. And I follow everything that is happening in football. And believe you me, like yourselves, there are things that I don't like. There are things that are wrong. And someone has to say it. Football has the power to unite, to inspire, to change the world. But like I said, it must change itself first. So I hope that now, under the leadership, in football's case, of UEFA and its president, football can prioritize what is really important, can adjust the new format, access list, and revenue distribution model for the benefit of all participating clubs, expressing financial solidarity, horizontal and vertically, so that no one is left behind, no one is forgotten. Investing in the development of football at all levels, rising the standards of women's sport, giving an opportunity for women to have a seat at the table where decisions are made. Not one token woman, but the free and democratic elections, term limits, policies to avoid conflicts of interest, renew power, strengthen legitimacy. There is so much to be done, ladies and gentlemen. So from the smallest clubs to the mightiest federation, the entire sports communities must come stronger and evolve their practices. The best sports take place on open fields, under the lights, in front of thousands. The way sport is governed and operates, their finances, their governance ought to be the same. I agree that sport has neither the means or the jurisdiction to effectively tackle all these challenges. Challenges that are related with matters of public order that require the intervention of governments and law enforcement. But to meet these challenges, as I was saying, we need global solutions and a multi-stakeholder approach. We need credible, robust, concerted, coordinated global action with adequate legislation, with international conventions that are effectively implemented. And a lot could be said about that. With meaningful, action-oriented, result-driven, international cooperation, not talking shops. We need a law enforcement equipped with adequate human, financial, and legal resources. We need truly independent scrutiny and oversight, not homemade self-assessments. This is what sports needs. And this is what all those who invest their passion, their trust, their money expect, deserve, and demand. Now, not in a decade from now. This responsibility, ladies and gentlemen, I truly believe belongs to all of us. And I mean all of us, because no one is excused and no one is exempted. We are all accountable. Each one of us has a critical role to play, and the time to do it is now. So I ask to all those who are listening to me, to all those who will be participating over these 100 days of Soccerex Connect, in the discussion of the most diversified issues related to sport and its future. I ask you this simple question, right here, right now. Where do you stand? Where do you stand? Do you want to be a bystander? Or do you want to be an agent of change? Do you want to continue complaining, or do you want to focus and work with us on the solutions? Will you continue in denial and never gaze, or will you adopt the SIGA universal standards and go through SERBs? I'm asking the leaders of the national and international sports movement. Are you in favor of sport integrity, yes or no? Are you in favor of good governance, yes or no? Are you in favor of financial transparency, yes or no? Are you in favor of transparency, independent scrutiny, and the oversight that the fans, the investors, the sponsors, the broadcasters, the whole industry has been promised for far too long? Yes or no? Do you want to see football and other sports at the top, at the podium, like other industries who go through certification process, independent certification process? Yes or no? If your question, if your answer is yes, then welcome on board. SIGA is here to work with you. We are ready and eager to help you to work with any person or organization that wants to take meaningful action in the name of transparency and integrity. We have the expertise, we have the experience, we have the resources, and we want to work with you, all of you. Not to name and shame, but to name and fame. Not to raise a finger, but to see you raising the trophy of excellence. So, this coalition of leaders, this coalition that we call SIGA, is here for you. Join us. Now it's the time for all of us to come together and make a difference. Now it's the time to do everything we can to protect the sports we love. This is the moment of truth. We must be aware of what it means. We must be conscious of the way future generations will look to us. And they would not forgive us if we would not grasp this opportunity, transforming adversity into opportunities of success, transforming distrust in confidence, transforming fragmentation into a united, cohesive, constructive collaboration, respecting each other's differences, but aiming to the core, to the soul, to the essence of sport. And that means sport integrity. Thank you for the opportunity. I wish you a productive and fruitful kickoff day for the Soccerex Connect. You know who we are, what we stand for. We're in business. We are here to stay, and we wait for you. Thank you very much. My name, you know it. It's Emanuel Macedo De Madeiros. I'm the Global CEO of SIGA, and I stand with SIGA and with you for sport integrity. Thank you.